Anastasia had always known her heart beat to a rhythm the world didn't always understand. At 22, with her wild auburn curls framing a face dotted with freckles like stars on a summer sky, she carried the weight of secrets heavier than the Sierras rising behind her grandmother's finca in the hills of Ronda, Spain. The air there was thick with the perfume of orange blossoms and the distant strum of flamenco guitars from the village below, a melody that had lulled her to sleep since she was a child fleeing the sterile suburbs of Sacramento. Her mother Elena had uprooted them both when Anastasia was 10, dragging her across the Atlantic to escape what Elena called the old world's backward ways. But Anastasia had found her way back every summer, drawn like a moth to Abuela Andrea's flame, the only soul who saw her fully without judgment. That summer, the one that changed everything, started like all the others. A battered yellow bus jolting up the winding road from Malaga, the sea a glittering promise fading in the rearview. Anastasia pressed her forehead against the grimy window, her sketchbook clutched like a talisman, pages filled with charcoal drawings of the women she'd glimpsed in hidden corners of her life, strong-jawed baristas with knowing smiles, artists in berets sketching the Alhambra's arches. She was careful, always so careful, to keep those sketches buried deep, away from Elena's prying eyes. But Abuela Andrea knew. Oh, how she knew. Andrita mi amor, Andrea would say, her voice a warm rasp honed by 78 years of laughter and loss, pulling Anastasia into hugs that smelled of lavender soap and sun-warmed linen. Andrea was a vision of quiet rebellion, silver threads weaving through her once dark hair, pulled into a loose chignon that defied the neatness her daughter demanded. Brown eyes crinkled at the corners like the leather-bound journals she kept, filled with poems inked during Franco's shadow. She'd fled Spain as a young bride in the 60s, following her American husband to California, only to return widowed and unbroken after his death, reclaiming the family villa with a fierceness that scared Elena witless. They'd spent those early days wandering the groves, Andrea's arthritic hand steady on Anastasia's arm as they picked figs ripe as forbidden fruit. "The heart doesn't lie, Nina," Andrea murmured one afternoon, as they sat on the stone bench overlooking the valley, the sun dipping low and painting the hills in hues of ochre and rose. Anastasia had frozen, her fingers twisting the hem of her sundress, a faded blue thing that fluttered like her pulse. She'd confessed it all then in halting whispers. The crush on her college roommate, the stolen kiss under a Sacramento oak that tasted like freedom and fear. Andrea hadn't flinched. Instead, she'd cupped Anastasia's face, her thumbs brushing away tears that hadn't yet fallen. "Love is the truest revolution, mi cielo. Don't let anyone chain it." Word traveled as it does in families stitched too tight. Elena arrived unannounced 2 weeks later, her rental car kicking up gravel like accusations. She was 52, sharp as the stiletto she favored even on cobblestones, her blonde-streaked hair a crown of control, her suits tailored in Manhattan where she'd clawed her way to partner at a law firm after divorcing Andrea's son. Elena had always been the enforcer of normalcy, PTA president, yoga instructor, the mother who scheduled playdates like battles. "Mom," Anastasia said, forcing a smile as Elena swept into the villa, air-kissing Andrea with lips that barely grazed cheek. What a surprise! The surprise soured by evening. Over gazpacho chilled with mint from the garden, Elena's questions turned surgical. "How was school? Any boys?" Anastasia's laugh came too high, her fork scraping porcelain. Andrea, sensing the storm, steered talk to the harvest festival, but Elena's eyes, blue and unyielding, locked on her daughter like a prosecutor's glare. It broke open after midnight. Anastasia had slipped out to the courtyard, moonlit and silvered, to sketch by lantern light. The page blurred under her pencil. Andrea's profile, soft and eternal. Footsteps crunched Elena's, heels discarded for bare fury. "What is this?" she demanded, snatching the book, flipping pages until she landed on a portrait of that roommate, lips parted in a dreamer sigh. Anastasia lunged, but Elena held firm. "God, Anna, tell me this isn't what I think." "It's me, Mom. It's who I am." The words tumbled out, brave and brittle. Elena's face crumpled, then hardened into something Anastasia had never seen. Revulsion laced with grief. No, you're not. This perversion, this choice. And her." She jabbed a finger toward the villa, where Andrea slept unaware. "She's filled your head with this filth. Lies about love to justify her own failures. Your grandfather died because she couldn't keep a family whole. That's not true. Anastasia's voice cracked, a sob clawing up. Andrea had told her the stories. The exile, the loneliness, the quiet affairs with women in smoky Madrid cafes that her husband ignored for peace. Not failures, survivals. Elena's hand clamped Anastasia's wrist, nails digging crescents. Pack your things. We're leaving at dawn. I won't let her destroy you like she destroyed us. Dawn came cruel, the sky bruised purple as Elena bundled Anastasia into the car, suitcases thudding like heartbeats in the boot. Andrea stood in the doorway, shawl clutched against the chill, her face a map of quiet devastation. Elena, por favor. Stay out of it, mother. Elena's voice was ice over gravel. You've done enough. Anastasia twisted in the passenger seat, pressing palms to glass as the villa shrank. Abuela! She screamed, the word raw tearing. Andrea raised a hand, trembling but defiant, her silhouette etched against the rising sun like a promise. The car lurched forward, gravel spitting, and Anastasia's world fractured. Spain's hills blurring into a watercolor of loss. Back in Sacramento, the days bled into a monochrome haze. Elena enrolled her in summer courses at the local community college, therapy sessions with a counselor who nodded too much and prescribed distractions. Anastasia's sketches went into a locked drawer, her phone silenced against Andrea's voicemails. Mi amor, come home. Your heart is your compass. But Elena monitored everything, her love a cage gilded with concern. I'm protecting you, Anna. From a life of regret. Regret came anyway. Anastasia dreamed of Rhonda's wins, of Andrea's laughter echoing in the kitchen as they baked almond cakes dusted with sugar like snow. She wrote letters she never sent, pouring ink into pleas. I miss your stories, your strength. I miss me. The betrayal stung deepest, not Elena's anger, but the silence it enforced, a chasm where grandmother and granddaughter once bridged worlds. Fall semester loomed, but Anastasia's fire smoldered. One night, scrolling numbly through emails, a subject line pierced the fog. From the estate of Andrea Morales. Her breath hitched. Andrea gone? No, it couldn't. The attachment was a scan of a will, notarized in Malaga, dated just weeks before Elena's arrival. To my beloved granddaughter, Anastasia Marie Reyes. I leave the finca in Ronda, the olive groves, the villa with its jasmine walls, everything that whispers of roots and rebellion. But more, I leave you my truth. Love without apology. Do not let fear steal your song. Tears blurred the screen. Andrea was alive, fiercely so, but the will was a gauntlet thrown, a legal tether pulling Anastasia back across the ocean. Elena found her there, sobbing on the kitchen floor. What is it? Anastasia thrust the printout forward, voice stealing. She left it all to me. The house. Everything. Elena's face paled, then flushed. That's insane. She can't, she wouldn't. But the document was ironclad. Andrea's signature looping like a lover's embrace. Betrayal reversed. Elena's control slipping. The past rising like mist off the Guadalquivir. You have to go, Elena said finally, voice hollow. Sort it out. But don't think this changes anything. She's still poison. Anastasia booked the flight that night, her heart a drumbeat of dread and dawn. As the plane lifted over the Pacific, she traced the will's words on her palm. Your heart is your compass. Spain waited, not as escape but reckoning. The bus from Malaga was the same yellow beast, but now it carried ghosts. Ronda's cliffs loomed like guardians, the town spilling whitewashed over the gorge like spilled milk. Anastasia's pulse thrummed as the finca came into view. Unchanged, yet altered, vines heavier with unharvested grapes. She stepped off, bag slung over shoulder, the air thick with memory. Andrea was in the courtyard, kneeling amid roses, secateur in hand. At 78, age had carved deeper lines, but her back was straight, her movements deliberate. She rose slowly, dirt-streaked gloves falling away, and turned. Their eyes met, green to brown, granddaughter to grandmother, and the world held its breath. Me Andrita, Andrea whispered, voice breaking like waves on rock. Anastasia dropped her bag, crossing the tiles in 3 strides, collapsing into arms that enveloped her whole. They wept there under the relentless Spanish sun, the jasmine witnessing their reunion as if no months had passed, no oceans divided. But oceans lingered in the silences. Over weak tea that evening, Andrea's hands trembled as she recounted the months, the doctor's warnings of a faltering heart, The will drafted in defiance of Elena's calls demanding she disinherit that nonsense. I knew she'd try to keep you, Andrea said, eyes fierce. So I bound you to this place. To us. Anastasia traced the table's grain, scarred from decades of meals. Mom thinks you're turning me into something wrong. Andrea's laugh was a rasp of thorns. Wrong? Child, the only wrong is hiding your light. I lived half my life in shadows, your grandfather's wife, the dutiful daughter. After he died, I came back here to women who saw me plain. Lovers, yes, but more sisters in spirit. Your mother never forgave me for choosing joy over silence. The confession hung heavy as the heat. Anastasia leaned forward, hungering for more. Tell me about them. And Andrea did as stars pricked the sky. The painter from Granada with hands stained cobalt, the poet who read verses by firelight, the quiet baker whose empanadas hid notes of affection. Not scandals but sacraments, love's quiet theology. Anastasia listened, her own secrets unfurling like petals. The roommate's name, Sophia, whispered like prayer. The ache of goodbyes unspoken. By week's end, the will's logistics pulled them into town. Lawyers in starched collars poring over deeds. Villagers nodding knowingly at the prodigal's return. Word reached Elena via international wire. Transfer initiated. Anastais. Her response was a barrage of texts. Come home now. This is emotional blackmail. But Anastasia's replies grew shorter, roots deepening. Yet conflict brewed, inevitable as the vendimia. Elena arrived mid-October. Plane ticket charged to Anastasia's card in a fit of maternal strategy. She swept into the finca like a nor'easter, designer luggage clashing with the rustic beams. This ends today, she declared, glaring at Andrea over coffee that steamed like unspoken barbs. Andrea met her gaze, unflinching. Welcome home, daughter. The groves need pruning. The standoff stretched days into a siege. Elena cornered Anastasia in the kitchen, voice low and laced with hurt. She's manipulating you. That will. It's a trap to pull you into her delusions. It's not delusion, Mom. It's love. Anastasia's words echoed Andrea's, a lineage claimed. Elena's eyes welled, rare vulnerability cracking her armor. I did this for you. After your father left, I rebuilt a strong safe. No room for complications that break hearts. Anastasia softened, seeing the girl Elena once was. Abandoned by a husband, scorned by a mother who chose exile over empire. You think gay means broken. But Abuela showed me it's whole. Beautiful. The argument escalated that night, voices rising over the patter of rain on tiles. Andrea intervened, shawl slipping as she placed herself between them. Enough, Elena. You fled Spain to escape me, but you carry my blood. My fire. Let Anna choose her own blaze. Elena's slap was lightning, palm cracking against Andrea's cheek, the sound a thunderclap in the charged air. Time froze. Andrea's head snapped, a red bloom staining porcelain skin. Anastasia's cry rent the room. Elena recoiled, hand-to-mouth horror dawning. The rain fell harder after that. A deluge that turned the paths to mud and the olive leaves to slick mirrors reflecting fractured light. Andrea retreated to her room, cheeks swelling like a secret kept too long, while Anastasia guided a ghost-white Elena to the guest cottage, the one with views of the gorge where the Guadalevin River roared its indifferent song. Go, Anastasia whispered, door clicking shut like a period on a sentence unfinished. Alone in the courtyard, she sank to the bench, the same one where confessions had bloomed months before, and let the storm wash her raw. Sleep evaded her that night, the villa creaking like an old ship's bones under the assault. By dawn the clouds parted grudgingly, shafts of pale sun piercing the haze. Anastasia found Andrea in the kitchen, dabbing arnica to her bruise, her movements precise as a dancer's despite the ache. It was fear, not hate, Andrea said softly, reading the question in Anastasia's eyes. Your mother strikes at shadows she can't name. Anastasia knelt, taking the cloth gently. She hurt you. Because of me. No, mi amor. Because of her. Andrea's fingers threaded through Anastasia's curls, a benediction. We heal together. Always. But healing demanded reckoning. Elena emerged mid-morning, eyes shadowed, her usual polish dulled by a night of ghosts. She found them in the groves, secateur flashing as they harvested olives, black pearls tumbling into baskets woven by village hands. Mother! Anna! Her voice was small, stripped. Andrea straightened, basket at hip, silver hair catching light like a halo. Sit. The earth listens better than walls. They gathered under a gnarled tree, its trunk scarred by lightning long past, the air sharp with crushed leaves and unspoken sins. Elena's confession came halting. The Sacramento childhood, tiptoeing around Andrea's friend visits, the women with laughter too free, touches too lingering. You made us pariahs, she accused, voice cracking. Dad drank because of it, left because he couldn't compete with your distractions. Andrea's laugh was bitter wind. Your father drank because bottles were easier than feelings. And those women, they were oxygen, Elena. After years of pretending, of birthing you in a marriage that choked me, I stayed for him, for you, until I couldn't. Coming back here saved my soul. Anastasia listened, piecing the mosaic. Elena's exile to America, not escape but armor. Her marriage to Anna's father a mirror of endurance. The divorce a fracture she blamed on echoes of her mother's sins. I thought I could protect you from that pain, Elena said to Anastasia, tears carving tracks through makeup. Make you straight-line successful. But I see now, I'm the one who's bent wrong. The admission hung fragile as a spider's thread. Anastasia reached across, hand on Elena's knee. Bent isn't broken, Mom. It's just human. Forgiveness didn't flower overnight. The vendimia pulled them into the village fray. Barrels rolling, songs rising in throaty Andalusian cadences, the air thick with fermenting grapes and goodwill. Anastasia danced with local girls, their skirts swirling like flames, while Andrea watched from the sidelines, her bruise fading to a yellow moon. Elena hovered, then joined, her steps awkward but earnest, a tentative bridge. Yet betrayal's shadow lingered, coiled like the serpent in Eden. Whispers reached Anastasia mid-festival. A letter from the Malaga notary slipped under the villa door like a serpent's tongue. Elena had contested the will, quietly, through American lawyers, claiming undue influence, Andrea's mental frailty. The Groves, the home, threatened, dangling by threads of litigation. Rage boiled in Anastasia's veins, hot as the bullring sands. She confronted Elena at dawn, the gorge mist-shrouded below. The river a silver vein pulsing life. How could you? After everything, after last night. Elena's face was ash. I panicked. The house. It's all I have left of him. Of us. If you take it, what am I? You're my mother. Anastasia shot back, voice a whip. Not the enemy of my heart. The words landed like stones in still water, ripples widening. Elena crumpled, sinking to the dew-kissed grass. I called them yesterday, before the slap. I thought, if I won you'd come home. To safety. Safety. Anastasia's laugh was hollow. This is home. Well as home. You can't litigate love. From the villa's balcony, Andrea watched unseen, her own heart a battlefield. She'd known of the contest, the notary's discretion frayed by Elena's persistence. In her journals she'd written of this moment. Daughter, you fight what you fear most, losing her as I lost you. Now she penned a new entry, ink blurring with resolve. A codicil to the will, not of property but truth. The climax crested on All Saints' Eve, when the dead walk soft among the living. The village fiesta swelled. Lanterns strung like fireflies, altars laden with marigolds and pan de muerto baked in remembrance. Andrea gathered them there in the finca's sala, fire crackling in the hearth, shadows dancing on whitewashed walls adorned with faded photos. A young Andrea in Seville lace, Elena as a gap-toothed girl chasing butterflies, Anastasia newborn in California sun. I've something to say, Andrea began, voice steady as the ancient beams overhead. She held 2 envelopes, sealed with wax from the estate's vineyards. Before words fail me. Elena's eyes narrowed, suspicion flaring. Anastasia's hand found Andrea's, anchoring. The will stands, Andrea continued. But these are for you. She slid one to Elena. To my daughter, who I failed by loving half measures. Forgive yourself first. Inside a deed, not to land but shares in a trust Andrea had built from widows' pensions. Enough for Elena to buy out in Sacramento, to start anew without chains. Elena's fingers trembled, opening it. Mother. Why? Because property divides. Love multiplies. Andrea turned to Anastasia. The second envelope light as a feather. To my Andrita, heir not just to stone but spirit. The finca is yours. Tend it with the women who'll come after. A locket tumbled out, gold and etched. Inside, a miniature of Andrea young, beside a faded photo of two women entwined in a garden embrace. Her first love unspoken till now. Anastasia's breath caught the room spinning. Abuela! But Elena's cry shattered the hush. A wail raw as birth. She clutched the deed. Then the locket's twin Andrea pressed into her palm. I contested it because I was scared you'd choose her over me. That I'd lose you both. Andrea rose, frail frame towering. You never lost me, Mija. I lost you to my silence. And Anna? She's choosing us all. The fire popped, embers flaring. Outside, fireworks bloomed over the gorge, echoes of joy and release. Elena crossed the room in 2 strides, enveloping Andrea in a hug fierce as the storm they'd weathered. Mother and daughter, 78 to 52 bridges mending in the crush. Anastasia joined the three, a knot unbreakable, tears mingling with laughter as stories spilled. Elena's hidden sketches from youth, drawings of girls she'd buried. Andrea's Madrid nights, dances where hands found hands under tables. Betrayals confessed became bonds, the will not a weapon, but a window to wholeness. Yet drama's arc demands dissent. Dawn brought a call from Malaga. Andrea's heart, faltering under the night strain, demanded the hospital. The drive was a blur. Rhonda's curves slick with dew. Elena at the wheel, Anastasia in back cradling Andrea's head, her breath shallow as whispers. In the sterile room, monitors beeping like metronomes, Andrea rallied enough for words. Promise me, she rasped to Anastasia. Live loud. Love loud. I will, Anastasia vowed, kissing knuckles veined like rivers. To Elena. Teach her strength, not safety. Elena's nod was solemn. I promise. The codicil was read that afternoon, lawyers assembling like crows. The finca to Anastasia, but with a clause, co-ownership for Elena, a key to return. She wanted us tethered, not torn, the notary explained, voice thick. Andrea slipped away at vespers, the room golden with Andalusian light filtering through blinds. Her last breath was a sigh, content, the monitors flatlining to silence profound as the gorge. Grief crashed then, waves eroding resolve. Anastasia wandered the finca alone. Groves mocking with their bounty, jasmine mocking with its bloom. Elena found her at the bench, folding her into arms, still learning tenderness. She brought us back, Elena murmured. Even in leaving. The funeral was a tapestry of village life. Black mantillas veiling faces lined with shared loss, flamenco guitars weeping arpeggios, the casket borne on shoulders through olive-shaded paths. Anastasia spoke, voice steady. Abuela taught me that love isn't a line. It's a circle pulling us home no matter the miles. Elena's eulogy cracked her open. I tore her from my mother for fear of hearts like mine. But wills and wills stronger remade us. In the weeks that followed, the finca transformed from mausoleum to memorial. Anastasia enrolled in art school in Malaga, sketches now bold with color, portraits of Andrea, Elena, the women who'd shaped them. Elena sold her Sacramento practice, splitting time between coasts and Spain, her suits traded for linen, her heart for horizons. One evening as harvest waned, Anastasia stood with Elena in the courtyard, lanterns flickering like Andrea's eyes. She'd be proud, Elena said, linking arms. Anastasia smiled, the locket warm at her throat. She is. Winter softened Rhonda's edges, dusting the Sierras with frost that glittered like Andrea's hidden tears. The gorge a frozen ribbon threading the town's ancient heart. Anastasia woke to silences now companionable, the villa's walls echoing less with absence and more with echoes of presence. Andrea's journals shelved in the sala, their pages dog-eared invitations to revisit. Elena had taken to reading them aloud on cooler evenings, her voice weaving through the rooms like smoke from the hearth, turning pain into poetry. But romance, that quiet undercurrent, stirred in the thawing. Sophia, the Sacramento ghost, had written months back. A letter tucked into a care package of California avocados and mixtapes of indie folk that spoke of longing without demand. Spain suits you, she'd scrawled. But home suits us. Anastasia had replied in sketches. A self-portrait amid olives, auburn hair windswept, green eyes alight with questions. Now with spring's promise budding, Sophia arrived unannounced, backpack slung over one shoulder. her dark bob framing a face sharpened by time. 23 now, with laugh lines faint as whispers, olive skin glowing from a semester abroad in Barcelona. She stepped off the bus, scanning the hill, and Anastasia was there, heart leaping like a fawn. Anna. Sophia's voice was melody, arms opening to a hug that folded miles away. You look alive. They walked the groves that first day, baskets forgotten, fingers brushing as they plucked early apricots, juice sweet on lips. Sophia listened to the unraveling, the will, the slap, the death, as they perched on the gorge's lip, wind-tugging skirts. Your abuela sounds like a force, she said, eyes, hazel-flecked gold, steady on Anastasia's. Like you. Anastasia flushed, the old fear flickering. I was scared you'd think. Too much drama. Sophia's hand found hers, palm warm against chill. Drama's just life with volume up. And I like the song. Their first kiss came at dusk, soft as mist rising, under the jasmine arbor Andrea had planted post-widowhood, a bower of white stars now tangled with new growth. No thunder, just tenderness. Sophia's lips tentative, then sure, tasting of apricots and possibility. Anastasia pulled back, breathless, the locket at her throat a talisman. Stay, she whispered. Sophia nodded, grin blooming. As long as you'll have me. Elena met her over dinner that night. Paella simmered with saffron from the village market, the table laden as for feast. Skepticism lingered in her appraising gaze, but softened at Sophia's easy laugh. Her stories of queer book clubs in Sacramento where walls came down with wine. Andrea would have grilled you on poetry, Elena teased, passing bread. But I approve. The betrayal's scar faded under such mending. Yet conflict, life's insistent tide, rose anew in summer's heat. A letter from the notary arrived, innocuous at first. Updates on the trust Elena's shares vested. But tucked within a yellowed envelope, Andrea's handwriting addressed to Elena alone. For when doubt returns. Elena read it in the cottage, door ajar, her sobs carrying on the breeze. Anastasia found her there. Curled on the settee, paper clutched like lifeline. She knew, Elena choked, about the contest. And forgave before I even asked. The words spilled. Andrea's youth, a lover lost to Franco's purges, the silence that armored her heart. I contested your life to save mine, the letter ended. But blood is not blame. Come back to Spain, claim the groves as grace. Elena looked up, eyes red-rimmed but clear. I almost lost you both to my own ghosts.
Anastasia knelt, échoing Andrea Espose.
But you didn't. We're here. The climax of their season unfolded at the Feria de San Bernabe. Ronda's June revelry where bulls no longer charged but flowers reigned, streets awash in color and calla lilies. Sophia danced with Anastasia in the plaza, skirts whirling to castanets snap, while Elena, mantilla draped, watched from a balcony, a glass of manzanilla in hand. Laughter flowed, but midway Elena paled, clutching the rail. Anastasia caught her as she swayed, Sophia summoning the doctor from the crowd. It was nothing dire, a dizzy spell from heat and memory, but in the villa's cool sala, as compresses soothed, Elena confessed deeper. A routine check in Sacramento, shadows on scans. Cancer, she said flatly. Early. Treatable. The room tilted. Anastasia gripped the chair, Sophia's hand a steady anchor. Mom. I didn't want to burden. But Abuela's letter, it's like she knew. Grace in the groves. Elena's smile was wry. I'll fight. Here with you. The will's true legacy unfurled then. Not land but lineage of resilience. Elena underwent treatment in Malaga, chemo's grip loosening under Spanish sun. The finca a haven where Sophia brewed teas from garden herbs. Anastasia sketched Elena's profile, fierce, fading, then fierce again. Letters to Andrea's journals became ritual. You pulled us through death. Now we pull through this. Betrayal transmuted to brotherhood. Elena opening doors she bolted. She hosted a reading in the villa. Queer voices from Granada to Gibraltar. Poets reciting under lantern light. Sophia's hand in Anastasia's a quiet vow. I see it now, Elena told them later, voice thick. The circle Abuela meant. Autumn brought harvest, Elena stronger. Her hair a silver crown like Andrea's. Baskets heavier with fruit. One evening as they pressed olives to oil golden as light, Sophia proposed. Not with rings but a sketchbook page. Two women, hands entwined amid groves, labeled our story to be continued. Anastasia's yes was a kiss, deep and declarative, Elena toasting with tears. To wills that bind. Winter circled back, softer now. Snow rare but stars eternal. The three, plus Sophia woven in. Gathered by fire, journals open, stories looping like vines. Andrea's absence was presence, her humanism the thread. Love not as conquest but communion. Betrayal not end but evolution. Anastasia, tracing constellations on the ceiling, felt the compass steady. Spain's hills cradled her. California called faintly, but home was here. In the women's laughter, the wills whisper, live loud, love loud. And so they did. A family reforged in fire and forgiveness, the gorge below singing their eternal song.